Thank you so much, and thank you to my wonderful panelists for sparing time to join us this evening. Mr. Pankaj Jain, I'm sure you have a very busy day with all that's happening globally. Thank you, Mr. Gulati, Mr. Gupta, for being here. I'm going to start with Mr. Jain because we heard the minister a while ago before you got in, talking about how India has actually met its 20% ethanol goal 5 years ahead of the actual target. First of all, a big round of applause to the ministry for having made it happen, ladies and gentlemen. So, Mr. Jain, when I look at the need for India's own energy security, we are at a time when energy security has become a huge friction point between us and a very large ally. How do you see the biofuels roadmap evolving from here on? What are the newer technologies or newer fuels that will emerge going ahead? The minister talked about, for example, aviation, sustainable aviation fuel. So can you give us a sense of where we are headed over, let's say, the next decade? Can we have some quiet in the hall, please? Just keep the noise level down a little bit.
So thank you very much, Sridharan, for having me here. The thing is this. Typically, as far what we have seen the India story on biofuels, Minister has spoken about this, where we were in 2014 and all that. It is actually, in some senses, very similar to the adoption of a new technology per se, where you see a typical S-curve kind of thing happening, where initially people are very pessimistic, oh, this will not happen. The same thing, for example, happened when television was first introduced in the world. Same thing happened when computers were first introduced. Same thing happened when internet first came in. That the first few years seemed as if, progress is glacial. And then before you realize it becomes exponential.
True.
Simply because the number of stakeholders who understand the business, who see opportunity, grow manifold. And that is what has happened in ethanol. And let me say this, that the ethanol story, even at 20%, is not over.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of juice in this story. Just wait for it. It is playing out. That is one. What is often underappreciated, and let me for a moment just dwell on the ethanol story itself. What is underappreciated is the add-on effects which have emerged because of ethanol. So, for instance, sugar industry, which we thought makes sugar, makes ethanol, probably has some press mud. That is what we knew sugar industry as. The same sugar industry now feels that they can actually handle another agriculture crop, which is maize or grains. When they do that, they end up producing another byproduct called DDGS. Today, that DDGS is changing the dynamics of what is happening in the feed industry.
Mm-hmm.
So the footprint of something happening in ethanol now spreads into something happening in the feed industry, for whether it's poultry or whether it's cattle feed and so on, and efficiency gains start coming out of how well do you make the DDGS, what's the quality of the DDGS you're making. So suddenly it takes a whole new dimension. The same mill which used to work for, say, 6 months in a year, now starts functioning 12 months a year, because it's a play on seasonality in terms of when the feed becomes available. But then that's just ethanol. The same sugar mill now has press mud, and with press mud it starts exploring whether I can make potash.
Mm-hmm. So it's a virtuous cycle which is
It's a cycle which keeps going higher and higher because new products keep getting added in the mix. The same sugar mill now starts thinking, can I make something called compressed biogas?
Exactly.
So I have now moved on to a very different industry, a very different product. Now compressed biogas is the same molecule as natural gas at the end of the day, which means I don't need to worry about retrofitting any car engine. The same pump I can take pure compressed biogas, what I think the rest of the world typically calls it biomethane. I can take compressed biogas straight. On the fly, I can take natural gas as compressed natural gas. So I've got now substitution effects happening. And because compressed biogas is doubly green, tomorrow if green credits come into play, just see that, suddenly the revenue streams coming out of a compressed biogas plant will not just be compressed biogas and FOM, but would also be green credits.
Right.
So that's the next stage which all of us need to work on in terms of what's happening on the second biofuel, which I would like to talk about, which is compressed biogas. The third biofuel, which the minister alluded to, was sustainable aviation fuel.
Right.
Now, sustainable aviation fuel production has multiple routes. Used cooking oil is what we often talk about. But alcohol to jet is another technology, which means again what? Again ethanol. What is alcohol to jet? Again, essentially, you are using some variant of ethanol and then producing jet fuel. Now, one can keep arguing that whether that jet fuel is really sustainable from a European point of view or from an, we can keep arguing about that. But there's nothing stopping me from using that jet fuel in India.
That's true.
So I'm now opening up another revenue stream. In terms of the same product, which is a biofuel, you then get, again, you do a segue into bioplastics and biopetchem. All of these are going to emerge from a family of biofuels, where today the number of producers who have become familiar with what a biofuel is, that is growing by leaps and bounds. So if I just look at number of ethanol producers. In 2014, ethanol was being made in 3 states in the country, just 3. Today, it is being made in 23 states and union territories.
In just 10 years.
In just 10 years. Number of producers of ethanol were basically sugar mills, and about 100 of them used to make that. Today, just the producers who are registered with the oil marketing companies is almost 400.
Huge. The ecosystem is just exploding, apparently.
The same thing we are seeing in compressed biogas. Number of people who knew compressed biogas, how could make it, was just a handful of producers. Today, you are having compressed biogas being made all over the country with all kinds of producers.
Right.
You'll see the same thing happening in SAF, not just SAF coming from a refinery, but SAF coming from people who make intermediates for SAF. Because remember, used cooking oil also needs some processing before it can be used as a feedstock.
Absolutely.
So people are doing that as well. So that is what the future of biofuel is going to, and you already have somebody who's working on bioplastics from ethanol.
Right. So what I'm hearing from you, Mr. Jain, is that we are not only strengthening our energy security through biofuels, but we are also actually accelerating economic opportunities, creating new ways of creating value in the economy. Where do you see another ethanol-like success story emerging? Will it be in biogas, or is there something else that might emerge where we might have the same story repeating itself?
So you have to begin from the market, work backwards, right? In terms of market size, gas is a far bigger market than SAF, than aviation fuel. And therefore, we see and gas is a rapidly growing market. I mean, you look around you, how many vehicles now run on natural gas? And we haven't even gone to LNG. I'm just talking of natural gas itself. In terms of incremental vehicle registrations, vehicle population. So to my mind, compressed biogas is probably in the early stages of where ethanol was 10 years back, where you will see a mix of pessimism, doubt, as well as optimism. You'll see everything playing out.
Fantastic.
But I think if the right decisions are made, our gas demand, we're just scratching the surface.
Absolutely.
Today, you don't have thermal power plants running on gas because costs.
Yeah.
Today, you don't have green credits for biomethane or compressed biogas. Let that play out. Once that comes in, you suddenly start saying that, okay, maybe you'll have a situation where somebody will come and say, I'll make compressed biogas here. I don't even want to sell it in India. I'll export it straight away.
That's true.
All that can happen.
Yes. So before I come to Mr. Gulati and Mr. Gupta on their industries, I want to ask you one question which has intrigued me as a business journalist also, is that, is there any way we can allow fractional ownership to come into the entire supply chain of biofuels, where farmers who are already benefiting from selling waste, biomass, can they also become long-term owners of this wealth which is going to be created by the biofuels economy?
No, I think that's an excellent point to make. So the thing is this, we have seen some of this happening in some places, not everywhere. We have seen some of this happening on compressed biogas. So typically, I take paddy straw from a farmer's field and I'm giving him either LFOM or FOM. So this is a transactional kind of relationship, but it opens the doors for now for more longer term commitments on both sides. Second, traditionally biogas was something which happened at a community level or at a household level. With compressed biogas, now it is happening at an industrial level. And soon you will start seeing IPOs coming from compressed biogas companies, IPOs coming from ethanol companies. And many of them, like typically, and we have Gujarat as an excellent model, where communities around the plant actually end up buying shares because
Brilliant.
there's a lot of value there.
Absolutely.
You see it happening.
Yes. Oh, great. So that's another way the poor farmer is going to enrich themselves through biofuel. That's fantastic. Mr. Gulati, let me come to you. The minister was quite animated today. He kept using the word BS for all the nonsense, which I agree is utter nonsense, which is circulating on social media on how biofuels actually harm vehicles. As manufacturer, would you want to lay that to rest once and for all, that biofuels don't really, ethanol blended fuel doesn't really harm your cars, because there is absolutely no science that has proved it. There is no agency in the world which has said that biofuels actually harm your car. So as a manufacturer, would you please put that to rest once and for all today?
Thank you. Really great to be here. And let me just go back in time and remind all of us how things have progressed. Sometime around 20 or thereabouts, we had a clear program where we've shifted the E20 target to 25. And if my memory serves me right, in 2021 June, the government proactively asked for a study to be done by leading testing agencies in the country with older vehicles. And the study was basically to see what happens to fuel efficiency, what happens to emissions, and what happens to material compatibility, which is, relating to damage, corrosion, etc. So, and I think we just need to refer to it. It clearly spells out that material compatibility, there is no very significant issue. With regard to the fuel efficiency, given the energy characteristics of ethanol, there is an issue, but it's very minor.
That's true. The minister said 1 to 3%,
I think
difference.
He's
He's absolutely bang on. He knew his stuff.
Quoting from the study.
Yeah.
So I think we really need to look at scientific facts and scientific studies. And incidentally, before we came into E20 era, we had this. Remember, E20 came in 2025. So we're talking about a timeline years before that. Additionally, I want to mention, there was a discussion with the government, and government wanted, and government was very proactive. They wanted the auto industry to step up and bring material compatibility fully years ahead. So 1st of April 2023, all OEMs, and this is there on CIAM portal, declared that all the products produced there onwards are materially compliant fully. And it's only now, on 1st April 2025, have we migrated in the full sense to E20. So this story, this timeline, this flow, the scientific study, we must remember. And
Absolutely.
I think that answers the question on its own. Just before concluding, I think this is a time for the nation to recognize the tremendous work done by the government, be proud of the achievements we've made. 1.4 trillion rupees saved in Forex
Absolutely.
is not a joke. 1.2 trillion rupees of that going to farmers is no laughing matter.
Absolutely.
You remember 2020s when we used to hear and read in the papers that farmers were having problem in getting their dues cleared because the entire value chain could not sustain it. The sugar prices were at a particular level, the input prices were at a different level, there was no economic sense. Remember, there the halla gulla we used to have about rotting food. And here we are, as a country,
Using it to produce fuel.
using it to our economic gain and giving it to farmers. There is nothing more inclusive. There is
Absolutely.
nothing more indigenous. And there is absolutely nothing more that we can be proud of as automotive industry. I tell
True.
you, today we have to migrate to sustainability. We have to migrate to self-reliance. And that we have to do at a speed and at a moment through this program of the government. And for this, I really like to thank and congratulate the government of India. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gulati. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the most trusted car brand. There's another one in the room. Car companies. Please feel free to catch up with them after this session to get more confirmation if you want to. Mr. Gupta, let me come to you. Secretary Jain talked about how the push into gas is also helping sugar manufacturers. So, how are you placed as, let's say, sugar makers, as an industry to leverage and get into newer biomass for biofuels?
So, see, as far as compressed biogas is concerned, sugar industry, when you refine the sugar, so the leftover is press mud, which was actually not used properly.
Correct.
So we can convert that press mud into CBG. I have my thought process even further. See, most of the sugar industries are in the catchment of area, 15 kilometers in UP, and some even get the cane from far. Sugar industry is well positioned not only to make CBG from the press mud, they can also have a system of collection of agriculture residues and convert that into CBG. And I endorse that view, which you asked Secretary Sir, that the next big thing is going to be CBG. I cannot see in this country we have around 550 million ton of agriculture residue biomass. I cannot see it getting wasted, and I believe fully that it will get converted into energy. And sugar industry, primarily being a rural industry, will have opportunity to get into it. I tell you something very interesting which happened because of ethanol program. We forget which is immediately seen. Ethanol program, what it did to the industry. If my memory is correct, yes, in 2016-17, when the program got pushed, the industry had 20,000 crores of cane areas to be given to the farmers because industry was making losses. Post that, we gave roughly around, for 3 years, total around 10,000 crore rupees of export incentive to export the surplus sugar.
Right.
Imagine the magic which one policy has done, that you are not exporting sugar to the world market at a subsidy. Your farmers are getting paid on time, and the biggest of all, I'll tell you something very interesting. When your raw materials start making money because the finished goods is making money, you give more and more attention to the raw material. The cane productivity has got so much focus that the cane productivity in the hands of farmers has increased. Today, when the maize happened, maize yields were very, very poor. Farmers, because of the marketability of that crop, has started paying more attention because that product has become worth it, right? And the productivity of maize has increased. So imagine these are the additional benefit which happens because of something called ethanol program. And as I said in the previous session, for the sake of repeating, imagine in 2014, a 35 crore liters of program has become 1,000 crore liters. To be honest with you, we used to go to Brazil to learn about the ethanol program.
Absolutely.
Now probably Brazilians are learning from us because one uniqueness of our program. World over, ethanol program is made from a single raw material. US does it for corn.
Corn, yeah.
Brazil does it for sugar.
Sugarcane, yeah.
Nobody in their minds could believe that Indian government can also come with such an innovative idea that you are encouraging ethanol from C molasses, which are the leftover. You are encouraging ethanol from B molasses, which is the second stage, and you are also encouraging ethanol from the sugarcane juice prices. And just to save money, so that you don't pay more, they have kept the different prices as per the cost of the raw material. This innovativeness on feed-based ethanol, I do not think there is any country in the world which have it.
Right. So that's a very interesting point. Sir, if I may ask you on this, the minister earlier told us about how seaweed is now being looked at for biofuels. There are also certain grass varieties, sir, which can be, which don't need much maintenance. They can be grown in wastelands. It doesn't need much water. Are we looking at how do we encourage all these alternative sources of biomass?
So you're right. Seaweed, napier grass, and even things like, surprise, surprise, rancid fruit juice.
Amazing.
So even fruit juice
Fermentation.
which has expired,
Yeah, fermentation. Yeah.
even from expired fruit juice you can make ethanol, right? So ethanol that way, and I often used to say sugar cane is a wonder crop. Now I think maize is also a wonder crop. But I think ethanol seems to be a wonder product. You can make it out of almost anything. So the fact remains, but the thing is this, napier grass also goes primarily into, not so much ethanol, but more into biogas, into compressed biogas. However, it works best when it is blended with things like cow dung or, press mud. That is where you get both the yield, productivity, all that improves, and you are able to get the elements which the manure needs, which the FOM needs. So where sugarcane, where the sugar units are well placed, see, they have always been in touch with the farmer. Is their bread and butter. They have been encouraging the farmer to do different types of sugarcane, different varieties, and extension work in terms of drip irrigation. I mean, they've done phenomenal work. They are actually very well placed to talk to the same farmer and say, okay, if you have some idle land, can you do napier grass? Or can you do a crop which will help us in yields? Whatever land they themselves have. So this, and in our coastal areas, so there is work on seaweed which we will make public at some point in time.
Interesting.
But again, all of these are multi-stakeholder engagement, multiple entities of government, multiple agencies, but it is actually an exciting time to be in this field.
Absolutely. So if I may ask you one additional question before I move to Mr. Gulati. It's very fashionable to always criticize government. Government ने ये नहीं किया, वो नहीं किया. आप बताइए इंडस्ट्री ने क्या नहीं किया जो आप चाहते हैं करना चाहिए for biofuels? Is there anything on your wish list that industry should step up to the plate and maybe do it to accelerate our journey to energy independence using biofuels?
No, see, I think I can't complain about industry's response on ethanol. If anything,
That's very reassuring for them, I'm sure.
no, industry has done phenomenal work on ethanol,
Yeah.
on both on the vehicle side and on the production side. And like I said, sheer widespread nature of availability of ethanol. See, we had a situation where when we began this program, we would be transporting ethanol right across the country because we had to meet blending targets.
Yes.
So whether it was Northeast or it was Tamil Nadu or it was Kerala or it was Andhra, we'd be sending. And we used to tell ourselves that this is absurd. you're burning diesel to transport ethanol. I mean, just doesn't make sense. We moved from that. It then became, railways. It became pipelines. And then eventually you had local manufacturing happening everywhere.
Right.
Today, the distance which ethanol travels across the country and is down to a fraction of what it used to be, and that is also which whatever is traveling mostly is within a state. There's so little because there are hardly any ethanol deficit states left. And all this is happening because industry stepped to the plate and said, we'll do it. I'm seeing that happening in compressed biogas. It will happen on some of the other biofuels which I mentioned. But each one will have its own characteristics. So it will not be fair to me to start, go on a harangue and start harassing industry. You haven't done this, you haven't done that. I think they have responded very well.
That's really reassuring to hear. So, Mr. Gulati, as a manufacturer, what do you think you can do to accelerate adoption by consumers of biofuels? Because we still spend a lot of money just on like fossil fuel.
Well, there is a very good case study that is of Brazil. They've been in this game for 50 years and learning from what they've done, how they've succeeded. In Brazil, right now, the national average of blending of ethanol is 45%. And their monofuel regulated gasoline is 27. So by keeping 27% as the regulated blend for gasoline, they've managed to reach a stage where 45 to 50% is easily being blended without any issue. And this also takes care of variation, because we must also recognize there is going to be some variation because of the very nature of the product itself, which is dependent upon production, which again has a lot of variabilities. So I think towards this, the entire industry has stepped up. The request of the government was to come up with flex fuel vehicles, and most of the OEMs, both in the two-wheeler space and in the four-wheeler space, have displayed prototypes. Now, we are confident that with suitable policy, these will become a reality, not only for the OEMs to manufacture and introduce, but also for consumers to basically choose these over pure gasoline. The other one, of course, which is being talked about, is the gas story. And I think there's a huge potential there. We heard in the panel earlier how much potential it holds. And I think that, like very rightly mentioned by Secretary Saab, is a story that will probably grow in the same manner as ethanol. So from the industry side, we are confident that given the enablers, we can step up with total indigenous value capture, because Indian automotive is globally competitive in the technologies that go into the E20 or the flex fuel vehicle or the CBGs. We don't need, we're not dependent upon raw materials, we're not dependent upon any technology, we are not dependent on any kind of inputs. So it also helps us to be less vulnerable from the geopolitical supply chain issues that are emerging. So I think those two would be the areas where I think jointly, collaboratively, government with giving enabling policies and industry is ready, we can step up. Thank you.
Right. Gupta ji, Mr. Jain talked about how ethanol production has now become more localized compared to earlier. But do you see a possibility of creating even more localized units, which can, for example, cater to a large campus or a large industry which is spread over, let's say, across 100 acres? Is it possible for us to lower the MVP in some sense for these biofuel plants? What are your thoughts on that?
See, as of today, let me just tell you the situation. The industry requirement, let's say, for 20% of ethanol is around 1,000 crores. We already have a capacity of 1,700 crore liters.
Right.
So today, the need of the hour is to create more demand. Because, as Minister was also saying and Secretary was also mentioning, India achieved it much ahead of time. This 20%, we are at least 3 years earlier than the targeted. Right. So now the question immediately to ask is
Stimulating demand.
how to increase the demand. And to increasing the demand, I think we have to follow, in my opinion, is the flex fuel cars, which give a optionality to the consumer, whether he wants to buy ethanol or whether he wants to buy petrol, how much also he decides. That's what Brazil does. And that's what where the globe is also shifting. There are some challenges in it, because you have to look at the cost of the flexible cars versus the other car.
Right.
And it needs some of the tax incentives, like what was given to electric vehicles old times. That is something which is there. As far as preparedness is concerned, there are already, I think, 400 stations which can distribute 100% ethanol. And the ecosystem is ready, right? All we need is to encourage people to buy the vehicle. 70% of our automobiles are in the two-wheeler sector.
That's right.
And we have already evolved those technology of flexible cars, flexible two-wheelers. It is already ready. So we should incentivize it and bring that first. It shall reduce the cost of running for the consumer. It will be environment friendly, and it will generate a lot of income for the farmers, as everybody spoke. And I think today we have to see the demand side. For the future, whether we can produce more, I think Indian agriculture crops has a great potential to increase productivity. I'll give you example of corn, let's say. Maize, one state might produce in 2.5 ton per acre, and another state produce 6 ton per acre. So that is the gap within the country. And once you make the raw material dearer, farmer invests his time. Farmer will give right fertilizer, right time, right attention, right harvesting. And within the country,
Even without something like an MSP for biomass, is that what you're saying?
Look at
Yeah.
corn today. 33 million ton of corn is 42. How much time did it take? 1.5 years. So I think as far as response to raw material is concerned, it is quite likely, and industry has proven it that they can increase capacity in no time. We were just 600 crore liters just 5 years back. Today we are 1700 crore liters.
Right.
And that too, you are talking about a plant which takes 2 years to come.
Okay. So, Mr. Gulati, I'm going to ask you a question on the flex fuel vehicles, and then maybe open up the hall to questions from the audience, because we have the pleasure of having the Honorable Secretary here. Maybe some people want to ask him a few questions, and other panelists. What will it take for a manufacturer like Toyota to put more flex fuel vehicles on the road? And
Well,
what will it cost the consumer?
Well, first of all, I think science clearly states that ethanol is carbon neutral. And we would like that the industry as such has requested that in the upcoming CAFE regulation, which is measuring, fossil fuel consumption, since fossil fuel consumption is being substituted, and since it's being substituted by ethanol, which is carbon neutral, due benefit of this must be recognized, else it will be a penalty. So that is, I think, a bare minimum. For the consumer to pick up, there is the capital cost and there is the operation cost.
Right.
As already mentioned, all clean technologies cost more. So the current tax structure is designed in an era where these technologies were not factored in. Mm-hmm. So probably given this context of this era, we have to ensure that these technologies, at least from a taxation point of view, do not suffer any disadvantage. The other challenge can be taken by the industry to scale up and bring down costs. From the operating side, I think everybody understands there has to be some differential pricing, which I think can easily be managed.
Right.
The most important point I would like to bring, and this is not for just these immediate points, is more strategic. When I say this fuel is carbon neutral, if you go to Brazil, they already have a very robust system of rewarding carbon credits to the producers, the money goes to the producer and the farmer. So they're getting extra income.
Absolutely.
Now, think of a future. Sitting here in Delhi, winter is around the corner. You don't have parali burning. That can become a reality, provided we enable this carbon real carbon counting, zero carbon tag to ethanol, not only in our policies, but in the global platform. Incidentally, I'll just take 2 more minutes. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change recognizes this.
Right.
We, as a leader, as a nation which is leading the Biofuel Alliance, now needs to work with like-minded agencies and set this standard globally, set up in Indian systems which are able to measure, report, audit this bit. Then this carbon itself, this carbon credit itself can make economic viability for second generation ethanol,
Absolutely.
waste to wealth. So I think that's the long-term thing that we have to do.
I don't think there's any doubt that the benefits from carbon credits and even fractional ownership of biofuel assets along the value chain needs to percolate down right to the farmer, because if you have a market, it'll allow price discovery, allow liquidity. That's the most essential thing for poor farmers as well. So now I'm going to open up the, the session to our audience here. One request, please introduce yourself. Make it a question. Opinions can be shared later, offline. If you have a question, please do mention who do you want that question to be answered by. So with that, let me open it up to the audience. Raise your hand if you want a mic to come around to you. Can we have a mic over there, the gentleman here? Please state your name and make it a question, please.
Okay, I am Dr. Sain Das, maize expert, maize scientist. Now, the issue was that maize yields are very low, but that is not true in India. Because if you talk of 2.5 ton per hectare, the days taken by the crop is only 80 days. There are areas we take 6 ton, the days are 100 days. We take even in the state 8 ton, where days are 120 days. And we have the states like Bihar, the farmer harvests more than 10 ton, 150 to 80 days. So in this time, the area today is 9 million hectare area in Kharif season, and 4 million hectare is likely to come in Rabi and spring summer season. And within this year, we are going to have more than 50 tons of maize, 50 million tons of maize with no time. That thanks to ethanol industry, which has helped the maize productivity to increase, area to increase.
So that was not a question?
There's a question, also clarification to the people who have some confusion
Okay.
that Indian farmers are harvesting low yield.
Great.
Only 2
That's
ton.
a good story to hear, and
USA,
thank you for...
US 140 to 280 days, 11 ton.
Right.
So we have to...
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your perspective on that. Any other person? There's one gentleman behind, near the camera. Oh, okay, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, my name is Sanjay Ganju. I'm the Director General of Indian Federation of Green Energy, sir. While I congratulate Ministry of Petroleum and the Government of India for, making such a robust policy system, which ultimately enabled us to reach this level of 20%. And CBG also we are doing now. There are better policies have come up, and I think that sector will also come on track. So my point is that when the biofuel, program of the country started in 2001, biodiesel was one of the, main areas also within that program. But somehow I think it has lagged. So what do you think, what are the reasons it has slightly lagged behind, and what do you think, what will be the remedial measures, maybe in terms of policy, which can bring it back on the track? In fact, that is the major segment of, fossil fuel which we consume in the automobile sector, and that can be a big game changer if that happens.
So look, yes, we can keep beating ourselves up for the fact that biodiesel did not succeed, but we have to recognize that diesel and petrol are 2 different products altogether. Their chemical characteristics are different. Even their classification under the Explosives Act is different. Flashpoints are different. So these are different products. And it is not for lack of experimentation. We have experimented with jatropha. We have experimented with tree oil. We have experimented with ethanol. We have experimented with palm oil. So all experimentations have been done. Technically, a lot of things are possible. Say, for instance, you can produce biodiesel from palm oil. But it is one thing to say that this works in a lab, and another thing for Mr. Gupta to say, I will set up a factory for biodiesel. He will look at viability.
That's right.
Now, if somebody can turn off a switch and stop my palm oil from coming in, what happens? We have to find a source which is sustainable, which is local, which meets technical parameters, which also does not require vehicle modification. Because if I'm going to put something in diesel and that requires me to first go back and do reverse engineering on and retrofit my engine, that's again not going to work. Our energies have so far focused much more on petrol. Our energies are now focused on biogas and SAF. There are solutions which we are right now working on diesel, but we have to make sure that we have all stakeholders on board who understand what this means and are agreeable to what that would entail. We haven't reached there yet, but let me assure you the effort continues.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the clarification. Any other, okay. I'll come to you, sir, in a bit after this gentleman.
Thank you so much, sir. I am also member of, my name is Binod Anand. I was moderating 2 sessions, but unfortunately did not have time, so thank you for giving me the time. So I'm also the member of the Prime Minister High Power Committee on Minimum Support Price and Agricultural Reforms, where since last 3 years we are trying to educate all the stakeholders, including the sitting secretaries and additional chief secretaries with me, that how rural energy is going to make done, thinking beyond minimum support price. Now there is in corner, there is a section of people who are asking MSP for biomass, just like you asked, which is not feasible, number one. Number two is that the way 1.4 trillion is coming to the Indian economy, to the farmers, can we have on 2 fronts, institutionalize it. That is, if we will do it in cooperative economic framework. Now there is going to be the packs by 2028, 2.5 lakh, panchayats, 2.5 lakh packs. And wherever we are, congregating the biomass, be it for ethanol, be it for bioenergy, can go through the cooperative sector. So it will have a business in 3-tier structure. So if suppose Mr. Gupta is doing a business, where or else any national cooperative is doing a business, so a farmer is not doing a business at PAX, but being the member, he will get 3-tier benefit. So that will, I think, IBRD institution घबरा जाएंगे वो एक बार में. अभी तो घबराए हुए हैं कि 259 मिलियन लोग कैसे PPP से ऊपर आ गए, $3 उन्होंने किया उसके बाद भी. तो अगर ऐसा हो, तो वो इकोनॉमिक फ्रेमवर्क पे कोई कैलकुलेशन हो नहीं रहा है. दूसरा, एग्रीकल्चर इकोनॉमिस्ट बहुत सारे हैं, एनर्जी इकोनॉमिस्ट बहुत सारे हैं, कोऑपरेटिव इकोनॉमिस्ट की कमी है. व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से, here is a convergence of 4 different or 8 different ministries, departments, stakeholders. If we can integrate these things, that how the petroleum economy or energy economy is going to integrate with cooperative economy, so can we have some thought process with the rich ministry that how the cooperative economist incubation is possible with this new setting up cooperative economic framework, Sahkar se Samriddhi, Viksit Bharat at the rate of 2047. How is it possible? Because we do have national cooperative policy now. So can we have some task force on those things, please?
Okay. So do you want to take a stab at it? It's strictly not your ministry, but as a senior bureaucrat, if you have thoughts, please feel free to share. Otherwise, I'll pass it along to...
No, see, a lot of work is already happening in the cooperative sector. And I think the kind of ideas which have been, they have already at pilot stage or at even beyond pilot stage, we have seen that happen with NAFED, with NCCF. They are doing a lot of work in that. So I think people are currently experimenting with various models. One of them I'm sure will succeed, and that is what is going to get scaled up.
Right. Mr. Gupta, you wanted to say something?
No, just, I started my career with the cooperative and very ambitious graduate from the Indian Institute of Forest Management, and I joined TriFed. So all I will say in totality, the opportunities should be equally available to everyone. Don't subsidize or incentivize an opportunity. Otherwise, it will start making business sense. And today's cooperatives are much more evolved. Today, IFCO, and we had NDTV just chairman with us. I mean, they are absolutely involved. They do not need any incentives to walk. And the opportunities are with everyone. And I'm very, very sure, like NDTV has taken for Gobar gas, there will be other cooperatives who will be coming ahead and adopting the same model. And as you very rightly said, they have a role to play because their farmers are the members of the cooperatives.
Right. Thank you for that. One final question, the gentleman at the back who raised his hand twice. We'll conclude with him.
Thank you. My name is Prabudh Vaidya and I'm a member of Just Transition Research Center from IIT Kanpur. The India's journey is quite incredible as it goes for the ethanol blending, and it should be applauded. I have just a simple question that roughly in order to produce 1 kg of ethanol or 1 liter of ethanol, around 10 kg of sugarcane is required. To produce 1 kg of sugarcane, we need around 210 liters of water. For 1 liter of ethanol, thus we are using 2100 liters of water. One can argue that most of the produce of sugar is also used in other things. But even if we take that around roughly 1000 liters of water is being used to produce 1 liter of ethanol, for a country like India, which is so water stressed, how can we make it more sustainable?
No, you're right that it takes water to produce ethanol. I don't think there's any dispute in that. And you're also right that we need to be more efficient in use of water. And the fact remains that just because so much water is used, it does not mean that that water has got wasted and can't be used for anything else. So all that happens. I think at the end of the day, what will really help is if people have to pay for the water they are using. People meaning in this case, somebody who's producing the ethanol. The incentive to conserve and be more efficient in water use is going to come out of the fact that that water is going to cost me money. As long as I have not cracked that part of the puzzle, the incentive for bringing in greater efficiency will probably be less than for increasing production.
I think if I can just add an element of fact here. In India, like many crops, sugarcane is a creature of political economy. We've been having excess sugar produced because of the sugarcane production well before we had the ethanol program. This is a fact. So earlier we were dealing with excess sugar by using taxpayers' money to export it through subsidies. Now we are using that excess to generate money that goes back. So I think that is also an important point, while what you state is very important. And I think one more point that was made in the earlier panel, and I think abhi jo aapne bataya tha, ki now that the money starts flowing in the entire value chain, you will have the ability of the farmers in the value chain to grow better crops in terms of productivity, better crops in terms of water usage. And those abilities will happen only when that greater amount of money starts to flow in. So I see the ethanol program actually contributing towards avoiding taxpayers' money to go to exports, subsidizing exports, enabling a much higher value to be given to the farmers in time so that they can concentrate on better varieties, better productivity, lower water, and I think that virtuous cycle will definitely play out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Final words?
Yeah, so one thing, so I'll answer this question in two parts. Cane has roughly 60% of water, and everything get into circle. It's a complete circularity. So much so, earlier, I'm talking about 10 years back, the ethanol the water, the spent wash it is called, it's a wastewater, that was actually put into the fields. Now that spent wash is also being put into the boilers for generating energy. So in case of sugar, circularity is almost 100%. Now, another important thing which you raised, and since you showed interest in the sugarcane, so much of development is happening in saving the inputs, not only water, everything. You go to the Maharashtra, drip irrigation's percentage is increasing day by day. Recently, just 2 months back, there is a project done in Baramati. You must have read in the papers. It's a AI-driven growth of sugarcane, where a SIM card will tell you when to put water, how much to put water. It will tell you when to put fertilizer, how much to put fertilizer. So sustainable agriculture, particularly in the sugarcane sector, is becoming phenomenal. I am in this industry last 30 years. It is only last 5-6 years that I've seen our association taking interest in growing the productivity of sugarcane. So a lot of work is happening, and of course, every input is a valuable resource. And there is no denying the fact that lesser the water we use, the better it is. But at the same time, keep in mind that circularity is 100%. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think with that, we'll come to the end of this discussion. I think it's safe to say that apart from digital public infrastructure, biofuels is now, I think, recognized as one of the success stories of India. So let's give a huge round of applause to the team that's actually made it happen. Secretary Jain, thank you very much for joining us despite your busy schedule. Mr. Gupta, Mr. Gulati, thank you very much. With that, I'll hand it back to the MC here.
Yeah, thank you very much to our panelists for taking us to the very promise and practicalities of this biofuel revolution, from waste to wealth, and in fact, Sehkar se Samriddhi. Thank you very much. I would like to request Mr. Kushan Mitra, the printer and publisher of The Pioneer, to kindly present the special token of our gratitude to respected Secretary Sir, to Shri Pankaj Jain. So we had our panelists sharing with us this very successful story of biofuels, story of waste to wealth, story of circular economy, story of farmers' empowerment and rural prosperity, and now how we are looking forward towards scaling up the further adoption of biofuels. So with that, I would like to also request Mr. Kushan Mitra to kindly propose a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, everyone. It's been an amazing event. We found out so much about biofuels and how biofuels are going to play a critical role in India's energy independence and energy security going forward, especially in these turbulent times. Again, thank you, everyone, for attending. It's been a great day. It's been a great learning, and there's a lot more to the biofuel story. I'd like to thank Sri, my former executive editor from almost, 15 years ago now, Sri? And everyone here, Secretary Jain, Union Minister Hardeep Puri ji, who's rushed off because, you know how these times are right now. You never know what's going to happen in Washington, D.C. right now. Thank you so much to everybody for attending. Dinner is going to start soon. The bar will open soon. Thank you for attending. On behalf of the Pioneer, I'd like to thank everybody. Thank you and good night.
So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's been the story of from feedstock to fuel tank, on land and in air, the story of biofuels, a collaborative story of biofuels where we had the industry, the academia, join us for outside the cocktails and dinner.